At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
As a lifelong, die-hard Baltimore Orioles fan, it is tempting to use this national platform in over 300 U.S. markets and in Canada to exclusively spout Orioles propaganda. Baltimore, in case you don't know, just took its third in a row over the AL leading Tampa Bay Rays. Won today by a score of 10-2 in order to earn a tie for the final wild card spot in the American League. But rather than do all that, we'll actually start with football. While so much attention has been paid to the Cleveland Browns quarterback competition and the impressive debuts we've seen from rookies Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, the most significant QB news has kind of been brushed over, kind of been overlooked, the most significant QB news this week, and that is easily J.J. McCarthy being benched in favor of Kyler Murray in Minnesota. In the wake of that decision, the reaction has been just as newsworthy as what Kevin O'Connell did. Many are already writing off J.J. as being a bust, as being a career backup. But we're telling you today, closing the book on McCarthy right now is a mistake. It's short-sighted. It's premature. he's still only 23 years old. That's the same age that Sam Darnold was when the Jets punted on him after 3 seasons. This is a story that the Vikings should know very well, considering Sam was let go by Minnesota after winning 14 games, and then we saw what Sam Darnold was capable of doing, winning a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. 23 is the same age that Bryce Young was when he was benched 2 games into his sophomore season with the Carolina Panthers. Everybody wrote off Bryce as being a bust at that point, but then he flashed at the end of that season. Final 10 games of that year, he was spectacular. And then last year, he took the Panthers to their first playoff appearance, first division title in a decade, first playoff appearance since 2017. By the way, he looks terrific in training camp by all accounts. This should be a reminder of how early in life top quarterbacks exist in the national consciousness. Think about Darnold, a good example of this. Sam Darnold just turned 29 years old. But this dude's been in our lives for more than a decade. When you're a top recruit, we know about you in some cases when you're a freshman, most cases when you're a sophomore in high school. J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold, 5-star recruits, going to top schools. And then when you play in college football, the second most popular sport in this country, first the NFL. We all remember watching Sam Darnold play against Penn State in the Rose Bowl. We all remember watching J.J. McCarthy play for the Michigan Wolverines and win a national championship. So it's so tempting for us to write these guys off so soon because we think we have this massive sample size, and in a lot of ways we do, but it's happening while these guys are still so young and it's still so developmental. Given JJ's age and where he was picked in the draft, he hasn't been given enough opportunity to warrant getting benched. J.J. McCarthy hasn't had enough of a chance to warrant getting benched by the Vikings. He was a top 10 pick, and he's played in just 10 games in the first 2 years of his career. Remember, he had the season-ending injury before his rookie season began, and when he did play, was he irredeemably bad? No. Remember the season started on Monday Night Football, and J.J. McCarthy led the Vikings from behind to beat the eventual NFC North champion Chicago Bears in Soldier Field? He had 2 touchdown passes and a touchdown run. Oh, but Josh, he closed the year bad. He finished the year by winning his last 4 starts, and in those 4 starts, 7 touchdowns, just 2 turnovers in that span. Is that spectacular? Listen, nobody's pretending that McCarthy's setting the world on fire. But if you loved him enough, Minnesota, to take him number 10 overall in the draft, to make him a top 10 pick, what did he do to deserve having the rug ripped from beneath him so soon? Plugging and playing Kyler Murray and benching J.J. McCarthy, it's less of an indictment on McCarthy and more of an indictment on the desperation of Minnesota head coach Kevin O'Connell. That's really what the bigger story here is. While Minnesota is a passionate sports city and their fans are passionate, they're also tortured too. They might just be Sports Hell USA. Their stars always leave and experience career highs away from the Twin Cities. Basketball, Kevin Garnett, Kevin Love. We just saw it with Karl Anthony Towns. He leaves Minnesota, wins a championship with the Knicks. And yes, Sam Darnold qualifies as that. You can't tell me that watching Sam Darnold leave your building and win a Super Bowl when you had him and he won 14 games for you doesn't add pressure on the organization. It's probably why Minnesota did what dysfunctional organizations do, which is to do unusual, weird things with your management, firing your GM as late as January 30th after all the top executives had already been hired at that point, and you not hire the replacement GM until after the draft in May. Kevin O'Connell having a new boss probably adds pressure for this year too. Honestly, for J.J. McCarthy's sake, it would be best for Minnesota to move on from him and go somewhere else. You already made your bed. It seems that Kevin O'Connell's under a ton of pressure, which is why he's doing desperate, dramatic things, and ownership letting go of a GM that type of way indicates that too. That's probably not the best setting for him, and you just made your bed with Kyler Murray sleep in it. It'd be best for JJ if maybe Pittsburgh gives Minnesota a call and says, we've got Will Howard and we got Drew Aller. We like both these guys. Aller was really good in the preseason opener for the Steelers, and you also have Howard, who has been talked up quite a bit this offseason. Pick one of those two guys, and we'll give you a mid-round draft pick for the player you took top 10 in the draft 2 years ago. So Pittsburgh then has a quarterback, a top 10 pick, to potentially be their QB a year from now when Aaron Rodgers retires. That would be the best case for a guy like J.J. McCarthy, who it is too soon to close the book on just 2 years into his NFL career. This segment is presented by Progressive Commercial Insurance. They provide small businesses and protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Will Dalton is the producer of this program. Will, not only is yours truly locked in on watching the Baltimore Orioles, I'm in a very uncomfortable place watching your New York Yankees lead the Blue Jays in the ninth and rooting for the Yankees because entering the day, the Orioles were tied with the Blue Jays in the AL wild card race that has become absurd, and for reasons that we can maybe dig into deeper later.
Your birds, they always find a way because this is, I just want to make sure I've got this right. Is this the third time that you've returned from punting on your team this year?
I've punted on the Orioles 3 times this year. And I said it would have to be something crazy that would happen, including 5 days ago was the last time I did so. They traded away Dean Kramer and then lost to Dean Kramer to a team that's in the wild card hunt. So I said something crazy would have to happen for me to buy in again. And the Tampa Bay Rays entered the weekend on a 9-game winning streak. They're at home. They have the best record in baseball. And the Orioles just won the last 3 games against them, including today 10-2. That qualifies as something crazy enough.
What's happening is they're gonna set you up, they're gonna bring you back, and they're gonna crush you and all your hopes and dreams in the end of this thing, and it's gonna be hilarious to watch.
In the spirit of talking about sports teams that crush people, crush the hearts, not in this case of their fans, but of the opposition, this might be a good segue to get to college football and to get to the Indiana Hoosiers. Curt Cignetti has not only become the face of college football, quite literally, he's on the cover of the college football video game. He's been called the next Nick Saban. He's also become the perfect messenger in college football. The man who has the credibility and has the on-field success to say what needs to be said to powerful parties within the sport. The latest target of his pointed rhetoric, shall we say? The Notre Dame football program. Indiana recently canceled a home and home with the Irish in 2030 and in 2031. Canceled the home and home. That made Golden Domer fans, of which there are many, very upset, and those fans became irate when they heard Curt Cignetti's answer when being asked about it this week.
Yeah, I'd like to play Notre Dame. They ought to come to our place twice. We'll go up there once since they're not in the conference. I'd love to play them. Be a great in-state game, you know. I guess there's a backstory to that. I don't quite know what it is. So, you know, it is what it is. And Big Ten schedule's pretty darn tough, too.
He just said, yeah, we'll play them. They'll just have to go 2 for 1. You know, the way you do with group of 5 schools, group of 6 schools. Yeah, Notre Dame, we're not going to go home and home with you. We can go 2 for 1, though. We never hear anybody of note talk about the Irish the way that he did. Listening to it makes me feel like Catherine Hahn getting hot for John C. Reilly and Step Brothers when he punched Adam Scott in the face. What? Huh? The rest of the sport generally just bows at the feet of Notre Dame. It seems every commissioner and AD has some connection to football Jesus and to South Bend. And because of this, like a spoiled child, Notre Dame, they always expect to get special treatment. We're not at a conference and we have this arrangement with the ACC. So in 2020, they begged the ACC to have them join as a member for 1 year. The ACC getting nothing in return. And then they started talking to the media and convincing the media that Notre Dame rescued the ACC in college football, not the other way around. And then last year, Notre Dame throws a tantrum after not getting their way into the college football playoff. The 2 good teams they played, they lost to. Said, we're going to take our ball and go home. We're not going to play in a bowl game. Here is the truth. Indiana is the program Notre Dame masquerades as. Indiana went 16-0. Indiana beat all the top teams. Indiana won the national championship. Notre Dame hasn't won a championship since 1988. They are college football's Dallas Cowboys, conflating the amount of attention that's put on them with meaning that they matter in the context of being one of the top teams, which again and again and again they've proven not to be. Good on Curt Cignetti for sending that message. And Notre Dame wasn't Cignetti's only target this offseason. He also went after the entire SEC. This was at Big Ten Media Days when he was asked about the strength of the Big Ten Conference, and his answer did not disappoint.
I mean, we don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest. We believe everything's earned, not given. And when we fall short, we say we fell short. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. All right? And that's why we're the best.
And that's why we're the best. Which reminds us, today we're doing unusual questions where you get to ask us a bunch of random bleep. And that's why we're the best. Forgot to introduce that we have Mondo, the tallest Latino in sports talk, that will be taking your calls in order to answer those questions at 310-840-4910. Save the phone number. That's why we're the best. Once again, while very few are willing to say it out loud, Cignetti was right again in what he said there. The Big Ten has won the last 3 titles. The SEC's the whiners. They're the ones in denial. They're the ones having an existential crisis right now. The SEC hasn't even come close either. No finalists in the last 3 years. Oh, you populate the playoff, great. You don't even make it to the championship game. And the run's likely going to continue for the Big Ten. Ohio State and Oregon, they're the 2 best teams in the country going into this year. And, of course, Indiana's going to be somewhere in the top 5. But here is the operative question to ask. And if you want in on it, 310-840-4910, by all means. When does the public turn on Curt Cignetti? When does it go from being lovable to being obnoxious? The quips are fun and cute for now, but eventually, with rhetoric like this, the public always turns, especially if you're dominant within the sport. There's almost this sense that we need to see if last year was a fluke for Indiana, because 1 year, even though it was a hell of a year, doesn't outweigh our entire association with Indiana as a football program, their entire history, which is largely laughable. If they are terrific again, Indiana, and he continues to be a bit crotchety, shall we say, then it might start to become annoying. Then you're going to hear a lot of people start to question their schedule, especially when they're canceling home-and-home series with Notre Dame. But for now, it's still fun. For now, it's more lovable than obnoxious. And for now, Curt Cignetti is the perfect messenger for college football.
And that's why we're the best.
Coming up, how the most consequential QB2 battle in the NFL took quite the twist this weekend. Twisting my words a bit. A little bit too excited about the birds. We're just getting started here on the Josh Graham Show.
There's still 2 QB battles ongoing. In Cleveland, it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. And Atlanta's between Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix Jr. When the starter's named, we'll let you know. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
One of the beauties of the format, Sports Talk, is that you really do have the feel of just hanging out. Like, we're getting to know each other. When people come up to me and start talking about Willow the dog or my family, and I've never known the people before, then, you know, it's real. Hey, you know these things, and we get to engage. It's also why it's pretty easy to point out a phony pretty quickly. Can't talk for 3-4 hours a day and be phony, or at least be good at it. And that's what makes this product different than what you get oftentimes on television. You are listening to The Josh Graham Show, by the way, Westwood One Sports across the country. So, you know, just going to let you in on some things sometimes. And you get to learn some stuff about me at points. For example, my love of the Orioles, who, again, today's show is me just tempted to spend the entire show talking about the Birds and playing Orioles Magic, because the Orioles, ever since being sellers at the deadline, have been reborn. And they just took 3 in a row against the Tampa Bay Rays, who have the best record in baseball, 110-2. But every time, like, I feel like I'm going to move on from this urge, I'm reminded of something. I'm literally drinking orange Gatorade here on the show. And then I look down, and I'm getting a call from my crazy cousin Wally that wants in to talk about the Orioles. And this is the part where I let you in on some backstory. Some think that the trade deadline has been what's inspired this team to do better. I actually think it's me having left a family group chat that includes my crazy cousin Wally that's led to the good vibes of the Orioles' comeuppance. I left this group chat at the low point of the Orioles season when I punted on them for probably the third and final time. But Crazy Cousin Wally has joined us now. So Crazy Cousin Wally, I think I made a good decision in hindsight.
Josh, you know, when you left that chat, I felt really bad because we all know I am Mr. Emotional when it comes to the Orioles. I wear my emotions on my sleeves. I let it out. But it's a good thing. I'll instead of yelling at the TV, I'll put it in my chat. Instead of getting yelled at by my wife, I get yelled at by you guys. So, yeah. But, Josh, when you left the chat, you're right. Like, all of a sudden, the Orioles start thinking that they belong in this wild card race.
It was my fault. It was my fault. I take the blame. My presence is what... Think about it. The Orioles, ever since we've been in a chat for a few years, have been snake bitten. And now I'm out, and here we are. Here we are.
So, Josh, I was going to say, Josh, I was calling in with this idea, Josh, you need to return to the chat. But now I'm thinking, no. You got to stay out of the chat.
That's it. Hell no.
But no, this is crazy. No. We still have, and I know you got to go on and I'll move, but we have Masayo coming back. We got Alexander coming back. So we'll see what happens. But
oh wow.
On another note, and I'll let you go. I want to just ask you a question
Please,
about
what do you
Maryland
got?
football as well. There's the Maryland football program. They have Malik Washington coming back this year, and they're supposed to be pretty good. What kind of pressure is the Maryland football program under? With a team like Indiana, who is a basketball school like Maryland, not football, terrible at football, what kind of pressure does that put on a Maryland Terrapin football team to have some kind of success, other than just say, hey, let's win 6 games and get into some, I don't know, crazy low-end military bowl or something like that?
No, it's a good question. It's a good question. Wally, and I appreciate the call. It's good to hear from you. And hell no, staying away from the chat. It puts pressure on everybody in the Big Ten because you have ADs and you have university presidents saying, well, if they can do that, why can't we? Especially if you're in the same conference. It's kind of like, look at the track record of SEC West football coaches last decade, how often they churned outside of obviously Alabama. It's, okay, Alabama's in the conference and in the division, thus you're wondering, okay, well, can you have some level of success against it? Nick Saban's presence cost a lot of people jobs. And that's probably what's going to happen with Curt Cignetti as well, because Maryland football and others in that conference are looking at it saying, well, if they did it, why can't we? More good news, by the way, on the Orioles front. Say one of the teams they were tied with in the AL wildcard race going into today was the Toronto Blue Jays. The Yankees blew a 9th inning lead because that's what the Yankees do. But in extra innings, they just hit a 2-run homer. I think it was Ben Rice to put New York ahead 4-2 in the top of the 10th inning right now. So keeping you posted on that. Ty Simpson is who I want to talk about from Saturday's NFL action, to take a quick left turn back into the football world. Ty Simpson is already making a case to become quarterback 2 in Los Angeles, and this is really a big deal. Don't forget, the QB2 battle that matters the most in the National Football League is this one with the LA Rams. And frankly, it's not close. LA is the biggest preseason favorite in nearly a decade. They're one of the 3 biggest preseason favorites this century, which means it's kind of important who might be one snap away from being given the keys to the Porsche, being given the keys to the best football team, best football roster in the league. Plus, Matthew Stafford, he's pushing 40 years old. He's had injury history in the past. It adds further emphasis on who the backup quarterback in Los Angeles is going to be. Ty Simpson was terrific in his preseason debut at Arrowhead. Clinical game management in the best kind of way. He took what the defense gave him. He carved up the Chiefs. 21 of 25, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This was after Simpson was the story of the NFL draft. The Rams, who have only made one other first-round pick in the last decade, take a quarterback in round 1 when they were already seen as one of the best teams in the league, and they have an MVP quarterback. Because of the shock of that selection, there's been a lot of heat directed towards Simpson. And some of it is completely unmerited. Oh, the guy wasn't even any good in college. Tell me you only watch the college football playoff without telling me you only watch the college football playoff. We get it. You watch Sundays. Let the people who watch on Saturdays throughout the year stick to telling you who's good and who isn't. Ty Simpson was a front runner to win the Heisman Trophy in the middle of November when Alabama was on an 8-game winning streak before Ty Simpson got banged up. So obviously there's a lot to like about Ty Simpson. You don't get recruited by Nick Saban to go to Alabama prior to Saban leaving if you're not talented. So Ty Simpson plays well. Stetson Bennett better be worried about making the team now. He better be worried from going from comfortably in the QB2 spot to not being on the roster. See, you already know that Ty Simpson's on the squad. He's the first-round pick. He's the future of the franchise. But going into the weekend, the consensus opinion held was that Stetson would be QB2 and LA would be keeping 3 quarterbacks. But if Simpson is already better than the soon-to-be 29-year-old Stetson Bennett, what's the point of keeping Bennett? Especially when you might need to keep another roster spot open for that Aaron Donald guy and his potential return. Sean McVay, we have this sound here. Sean McVay was asked about the QB2 battle in Los Angeles, and predictably he had very little to say about it.
Obviously, Ty had the majority of the game, got 25 attempts to be able to throw the football. But I thought he did a really good job, overall. And I thought Stetson with what he had. So we're going to continue to evaluate it like anything else. But it was fun to be able to see, live football, see how guys handled it. We haven't played tackle football in a long time. I mean, shoot, I got to get I was a little rusty myself. I went and started to shower before I came in here. Normally I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot I got to do the press conference.
A lot of ladies starting to imagine Sean McVay in the shower. Maybe do the press conference from the shower. Why are you shaking your head, Will? He's a handsome man.
I don't know. Was anybody thinking about Sean McVay in the shower? Do we know this?
I wasn't, but Sean McVay brought it up. I didn't bring up Sean McVay in the shower. It was Sean McVay who brought that up.
You kind of did.
No, Sean McVay did. I didn't. He said he was starting to take a shower and then forgetting about the press conference, and then went back out. I'm just saying. This might be a good segue to the fact that we have unusual questions on today's show. That's in a couple of hours, where for that segment and that segment only, you can ask us anything. It could be Orioles related. It could be non-sports related. It could be about Sean McVay in the shower. It also could be this question that we have as a teaser for you. I like the idea of asking an unusual question just to let people know what an unusual question sounds like, so that way they're ready to go when that segment arrives. Will Dalton, have you ever had a connection to a famous true crime case or a noteworthy criminal? Had like an encounter, or you know somebody is like, yeah, this person's a criminal, or this guy was involved in a true crime case, and I was in some way involved, or I know this person. Not involved in the case, but I know the person, or have had lunch with them, or I didn't know, but then this person pushed his wife down the stairs, or whatever.
I can't say that I have. I can't say that I have.
310-840-4910. Guarantee you, with the large swath we have, somebody can relate to this. 310-840-4910. And this is our this is our appetizer for unusual questions. This goes back to the umbrella, Will, of getting to know your host. Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports. Yours truly can't wait for a Netflix true crime documentary that's coming out next week. The doc is called The Death of the Pastor's Wife. As the title suggests, a pastor's wife tragically died. She took her own life a few years ago, but many suspect the pastor might have been involved. It's a little curious and unsettling how much the true crime docs have picked up and how popular they are on Netflix. There might be a societal question we need to ask about why those things are so popular. My wife can't get enough of this stuff, for example. But why am I bringing it up? First off, it is a tease for unusual questions. 310-840-4910. We can get to that later on, unusual questions. But number two, it happened at a church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, a church that my sister visited regularly once upon a time when she lived there. I think she even knew the wife. I even visited, Will, and heard the pastor's preaching the day I got engaged to my wife. But another bizarre thing happened that weekend, Will. That was on a Sunday. The day before was a Saturday. And my sister said, hey, let's go to this piano bar that the pastor has a stake in, like on the Broadway, like on the boardwalk at the Broadway, whatever they have in Myrtle Beach. So I go to this piano bar. I meet the now deceased wife at a table. It's me, my sister, and my wife meeting her. And she introduces me to the pastor. And Will, here's the introduction I have to the pastor who's at the center of this documentary. He walks out handing us Jell-O shots.
What?
Yes.
Jell-O shots.
A pastor.
At church.
No. This is at the piano bar downtown on the boardwalk. But the pastor, who I had never met in person, walks out and hands me and my wife Jell-O shots. It's an actual thing that happened. So now he and his wife is there. It's us four us five at a table. My sister, my wife, me, the wife, who's now deceased and at the center of this documentary, and the pastor who's at the center of this, and he's handing us Jell-O shots. Very weird. Very weird encounter. Needless to say, I'm excited to watch this true crime documentary, Death of the Pastor's Wife. I'm also hitting the beach in North Carolina after the show, the Superior Carolina, by the way. So you could make the case that I'm mailing it in the second segment of the show. You could make that case as well. But we do ask that question as an appetizer to Unusual Questions. Have you ever had a connection to a famous true crime case or noteworthy criminal of some sort? Someone's going to call in and say, yo, I actually knew Jeffrey Dahmer, my guy Jeff. 310-840-4910 if you want in. Logical Raptors fanatic writes in, Josh Graham's guilty. Wow.
Busted. Dun dun. The Law and Order drop. Somebody get
What
that.
a twist. This is why we're the best, Mondo. That's what people need to remember.
And that's why we're the best.
Another reason we're the best, our bets went 5-1 over the last couple of days, so we'll try to keep the good times rolling in Graham's Gambling while taking a look at the Week 2 preseason slate next on the Josh Graham Show.
The first weekend of the preseason games is in the books, and we're that much closer to the regular season. The Seahawks-Patriots Wednesday night opener is less than a month away.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited!
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Our bets have been hot. Graham's gambling just a few minutes away on the Josh Graham Show. Unusual Questions is in about an hour and a half, but we gave you an appetizer where you can respond to the question that we asked, some suggesting I might be a part-time hitman by telling the story that I told, a connection to a Netflix true crime doc that's coming out next week, death of the pastor's wife. It's a pastor in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We don't need to delve too much further into it, but I asked, have you ever had a connection to someone involved in a true crime case or a noteworthy criminal we might know? And when you ask those types of questions, you get a number of responses. Let's go to Rick. He's in Baltimore. Rick, what do you have for us?
Hey, what's happening? Growing up in middle school, I went to middle school with this guy named Wesley Moore. Years later, the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, the current governor, a few years back, he wrote a book called The Other Wes Moore about how he grew up a few miles from this other Wesley Moore that I knew, and their lives went in dramatically different directions. Wes Moore went on to the Navy, and eventually he's governor of Maryland. The other Wes Moore stuck up a jewelry store here in Baltimore and ended up shooting the worker or the owner of the jewelry store. So I went to school with not the governor, Wes Moore, but the guy who's in prison now, Wes Moore.
Yeah, and is it important to distinguish that Wesley is the one that is the criminal while Wes is the governor? Like, that's kind of like the line of demarcation?
Well, wait, I think they're both Wesley, but the one that I know the one that I went to school with was Wesley, but he went by Wes as well. And he was a gifted athlete. I mean, he was a gifted athlete.
Well, Rick, just because you're from Baltimore, you've just given me another reason to point out that the Orioles have won 3 in a row, by the way, and beat the Rays today 10-2, and I'm super happy about it. So, Ostros and Natty
Birds are hot.
That's a great story. Yeah, they are. Thanks for the call, Rick. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Rick calling us from Baltimore. Now, let's get to today's Graham's Gambling.
It's West.
Sitting back, count money all day, you know.
It's time for Graham's Gambling. Let's make some money.
Let's. Will Dalton, the last couple days, we've gone 5-1. I think the last 3 days, 6-1. Last night, it was Rams plus 2.5 at the Chiefs, cash. Do we have the Cignetti drop ready to go, Mondo, just in case, after I rattle off how well we've done? Rams plus 2.5, and also the Orioles, we said we're going to upset the Rays last night. That worked out pretty well, didn't it? Yes, except for the part where we bet on the Dodgers 5-inning money line. Will, did you see the drama that happened in the bottom of the 5th inning? Why I was on pins and needles to potentially win that bet?
It got a little dicey there. I wasn't watching it, but I was hearing some things about it.
The Dodgers had the bases loaded with 1 out.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman due up. Strikeout to end the inning. Tough way to go down. But that's how the cookie crumbles. 5-1 the last 2 days. That's what we're going to focus on. We're going to hand out a couple baseball bets. Yordan Alvarez is chasing the Triple Crown. Did you know right now that Yordan Alvarez currently leads the American League in batting average, home runs, and RBI? Because he does. And tonight, he's getting a national stage, NBC Sunday Night Baseball, going up against Brian Wu in Seattle. Betting home run bets feels like a sucker bet, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do, over 1.5 total bases, minus 109. For Yordan Alvarez, we think he's going to get multiple bases. Walks don't count into that, of course. Over 1.5 total bases. These odds courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. And DraftKings just dropped this in the last 15 minutes, Will. Orioles-Rays to close a 4-game set on Monday. Do you think I'm honestly going to bet the Orioles to sweep a 4-game series against Tampa when they've won the last 3? No, I will not do that. But Tampa's bullpen has been battered, and Baltimore, their pitching staff, their stars at the plate, Pete Alonso, Gunnar Henderson, they have been red hot right now. So I think the Orioles are going to score, and Tampa's offense is, of course, electric. I think over 8 runs at plus money, it's actually exactly even odds. Yeah, we'll go in that direction. Over 8 runs, Orioles-Rays. It is, who do we got throwing? Nick Martinez going up against Brandon Young. Over 8 runs on Rays-Orioles, and then Yordan Alvarez over 1.5 total bases at minus 109. Those are our baseball bets. The Week 2 preseason slate, we're looking ahead, Will Dalton. Don't think I'm going to bet this week on preseason football. 1, I'm taking a little bit of time off going to the beach. Excited for that. Number 2, going to be too locked in on the Little League World Series that we need to bet on. I don't know if you're actually able to bet on the Little League World Series. I meant that as a joke. I did see they have video. They are introducing video replay at the Little League World Series this week, which makes me smile. The idea of hey, we got to challenge this call for Little League Baseball.
I feel like you and I have had conversations in the past. Like, you have to be a special kind of degenerate to bet on Little League Baseball.
I don't think you're able to. I don't think
so
are.
either.
I could be wrong, but I don't think you are. But yeah, the Week 2 preseason slate, it looks pretty bad. I was bought in, Will, on the slate this week. I was at this time a week ago. But because of joint practices, a lot of coaches, when they have joint practices, don't play starters a ton in the preseason game to get a lot of the work done in the joint practice. So you can pretty much write off all the games that involve joint practices this week, and that's Browns, Bills, Dolphins, Giants, Bears, Bengals, Panthers, Jags, Saints, Rams, as not being all that compelling. Also think the Cowboys are going to be involved in a joint practice too. So honestly, that just leaves 2 games that I'll be keeping a tertiary eye on. Texans, Raiders, Commanders, Lions. I want to see what Detroit's offense looks like. I want to see the new start. I want to see the starters play. I want to see if Jaden Daniels is able to. I want to see him healthy. I hadn't seen him in a while. He's been in the news, obviously, lately. And then with Raiders, Texans, would love to see C.J. Stroud. Would love to see Fernando Mendoza's follow-up back. So that would be. And then Minnesota, just because we've been talking a lot about their quarterbacks, Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. I think Minnesota-Baltimore is interesting, too, just because Baltimore, they have a new offense. If you get to see some of Lamar, that could be fun as well. Those are the only games on the preseason slate I have mild interest in watching, mild interest in paying attention to. That is Graham's Gambling for today.
And that's why we're the best.
Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, Westwood One Sports Night. It's where you can find, If you miss any of the shows, interviews like Carl Ravitch joining us and breaking some news a couple of nights ago, and we tend to have some fun guests from time to time, and when football season starts, we'll certainly have more and more of that. It's how you can watch the show in addition to listen to it, including right now, where we got the App State gear and the Oriole hat on. You can check that out. Westwood One Sports Night. Like, comment, subscribe. That helps us with the algorithm. You can watch also on Westwood One's X page. More than 20,000 followers there and growing. You could go to Westwood One Sports on X and find us. You can chime in on YouTube as well, as Aaron's doing so. Josh, legit question. Do you ever have a day off? Yeah, I do. When football season arrives, I might not. But as of right now, I do pick and choose some spots to have days off. And how much do we want to get into this? Will Dalton, last night, wanted to hit on this while we had a second. You had the Basketball Hall of Fame ceremony. Did anybody know that the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame was this weekend? Could we have done a better job of marketing this at all? Golly. How often do we talk about how the NFL does such a great job with its Hall of Fame while everybody else is doing a cruddy job? Baseball being too exclusive and too indignant and too self-righteous with who they let in and choose not to celebrate. And then basketball just letting everybody in. Case in point, Doc Rivers is a Hall of Fame NBA coach. Mr. Blow a 3-1 lead is a Hall of Fame basketball coach. Really, that's what we're doing. Amari Stoudemire is a Hall of Fame center or power forward. That's what we're doing. And honestly, it's a shame because, Will, it seems on the women's side and with the college inductees, they've got it right. Like Mark Few, that's a Hall of Fame basketball coach, and that is an awesome inductee. He built Gonzaga into being a relevant national brand. That deserves a lot of credit. The women's side, Elena Deladon and Candace Parker, yeah, those are Hall of Famers. Capital H, capital F, Hall of Famers. We'll even capitalize the O. Speaking of O's. Orioles. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, the Hall of Fame ceremony. Yeah, that wasn't a lot of fun. When the next hour begins, we will tell you where the Cleveland Browns quarterback battle currently stands. And you'll hear from the head coach, Todd Monken. All of that next on the Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Josh Graham Show, where we did yeoman's work late last night. Listen to the entire Pat McAfee album and have thoughts. Some excerpts. Gonna channel my inner Zane Lowe 20 minutes from now. I sense Pat McAfee is trying to send a message to the world that he feels like the villain. But what if actually he's a hero? 20 minutes from now, we'll get to that. At this point, it would be surprising if Deshaun Watson wasn't named the Cleveland Browns starter. We do talk about this quarterback competition too much. We need something to talk about in August. Preseason games aren't fun, so we want tension. We want competition, and we focus on quarterback more than any position. So it's not like it's going to make a huge difference regardless of who's starting for the Browns. The Browns are probably going to finish last in the AFC North. Best case, they finish third, still miss the playoffs. It's a first-year coach who just gave away the Defensive Player of the Year. What are we doing here? To those who were talking about them being a playoff team. It would be surprising at this point if Deshaun Watson wasn't named the starter, though. Deshaun didn't do anything flashy against the Bears. Yes, the numbers were decent. 11 of 15, 126 yards, 98.2 quarterback rating, but he didn't throw a touchdown pass. He was captain checkdown. He didn't complete a pass that traveled more than 10 yards through the air in an entire half of football, despite a big part of the story of this game being their dynamic playmakers that they have in Cleveland now. So why should this performance make Deshaun a front runner? You need to listen to the way that Todd Monken talked about Deshaun Watson's day, because it's a lot different than the way that we just characterized it.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, it was so cool to watch him play. I mean, I get all of the frustration by fans, himself, but for him to come back and work like he did is an unbelievable credit to him. And then to go out there, he was having fun today. And that is so cool. And I thought he really functioned at a high level.
Well, remember we were on at this time yesterday and the game ends. You remember the word we used to describe Deshaun's performance and watching Deshaun play football?
Uninspiring.
Correct. That is exactly the opposite takeaway from Todd Monken. It was awesome. That was so much fun. That was so much fun to watch. I barely have a voice. So, if that's the bar that Deshaun has to clear in order to be viewed as awesome by his coach, it seems pretty clear how he feels about Deshaun Watson. Meanwhile, the odds are stacking up against Shedeur Sanders. He missed an open receiver on his interception he had. He didn't throw a touchdown. His QB rating wasn't very good. Had an interception. Here was Shedeur Sanders. And offering an explanation for the pick, Shedeur said, well, the ball just slipped out of my hands. Let's hear from the polarizing Cleveland quarterback. Shedeur Sanders? We'll see if we can get to that in a second. I mean, it's never good to hear somebody say, well, the ball just slipped. And maybe the sun was in my eyes and the wind was blowing. Don't think that's exactly what you want to hear from your starting quarterback, or in this case, somebody competing to be your starting quarterback. Shedeur Sanders, he's going to start against the Buffalo Bills. That's a much better defense than Deshaun Watson faced. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills piece of this. So, Deshaun, Will Dalton, so you're a Carolina Panthers fan, so you have some perspective on this watching the Panthers yesterday. Deshaun gets to face Chicago's twos. And even if it was Chicago's ones, Chicago's defense, the weakness of that team. That is an offensive team. They're talking about scoring more points than any team's ever scored in NFL history.
Right.
The weakness of the Chicago Bears is the defense. So, this is where Conspiracy Josh makes an appearance. Let me see if I can...
Oh, boy. Go get the hat. Go get the hat.
Let me take the Orioles hat off. One sec.
Yeah, get rid of that. You know, we don't need that anyway. As hideous as the tinfoil cap is, I'd rather have that all day, every day. Oh, here he comes. Oh, my God.
Hey, Will!
Hey.
Conspiracy Josh making an appearance here. We really need music for this. I think Todd Monken stacked the deck against Shedeur Sanders. I think. See, that Linnell Willingham fella, he was out at Brown's training camp last weekend. Remember what he told us? He told us he went out there for a couple days and he said, hey, thought we were going to get Shedeur with the ones one day, get Deshaun with the ones the next day. But you know what Linnell saw? He saw Deshaun start both days for the Cleveland Browns. And that was going into an off day. And then, isn't it convenient? Just convenient that Deshaun is going to start with the ones for a half against a lesser Bears defense that's likely not going to play their starters in the game altogether. And then you got the coach talking about how great he was when we watched it. It wasn't inspiring at all. As that Josh guy said, it was uninspiring. And then what does Shedeur get? Shedeur has to work with the twos in the first game. Not as fun, not nearly. It's harder to have success. You only get a quarter. You get the third quarter. And then you get to start against a Bills defense that forced the Carolina Panthers to go 3-and-out on all three of their offensive series. And on top of that, it follows a joint practice where Todd Monken's already saying some of the starters might not play in the game because of the work they get in the joint practice. Oh, it stinks, Will. It stinks to high heaven. I'm out.
You know, that conspiracy, Josh, he can be onto something sometimes. I don't think that's the craziest thing ever. I really don't. Oh, here comes regular Josh. Here, welcome back.
Sorry about that guy.
Yeah. He might be onto something, though.
Maybe. The odds are stacking against Shedeur. And let's not forget that Cleveland, because of the skill talent they have around Shedeur Sanders, around Deshaun Watson, maybe a more experienced quarterback is the best play for this team. With Casey Concepcion, with Denzel Boston, with Harold Fannin, with Quinshad Judkins, the Browns, they might not need a quarterback to carry them in order to win games. Also, even if Deshaun starts the season at quarterback, nobody believes he's going to start the entire year, right? Like, the moment Cleveland moved on from Myles Garrett, they surrendered their playoff chances. So there will be a time to go to Shedeur later in the season. But at this point, it would be surprising, that's the way we'll characterize it, if Deshaun Watson wasn't named the Brown starter. Will Dalton, this is the Josh Graham Show. You are the producer of this show. We got the tallest Latino in sports talk, Bondo, who's taking calls at 310-840-4910. We have been doing this show for more than 7.5 months now. We've been doing this show. And I think we have maybe committed one segment the entire time of us doing this show to exclusively talking about the Baltimore Orioles. Like, we mentioned them, and I love the Orioles, but
yes,
I don't think in a national context the Baltimore Orioles have been a topic on the show. Don't think they've risen in the level of interest to become an actual topic on the program, my beloved Baltimore Orioles.
I think you're right about that.
Today, that changes. Will Dalton, is this camera on?
I'm looking at it.
Got it? Yeah. This mic on?
We hear you.
Make some room. ISO. Get out of the way. There's some things that I need to say that we need to talk about right now extensively when it comes to this baseball team. The Baltimore Orioles are the best story in Major League Baseball right now. No, this is not Oriole homerdom speaking. We are 2 weeks removed from the MLB trade deadline. What was the biggest storyline the day of the deadline? The Orioles selling Adley Rutschman, the face of their franchise, to the Boston Red Sox. The Orioles were 2.5 out of the wild card spot, essentially punting on the season. What has happened since is nothing short of remarkable. Baltimore, right now, is tied for the final wild card spot in the American League. If Texas loses to the Athletics, top 4 right now, and they're tied 2-2, the Orioles will have sole possession of the final wild card spot. The dominoes are all breaking Baltimore's way. All these teams that were right next to them going into the weekend are falling aside. Detroit got swept by the Chicago White Sox. The Toronto Blue Jays just lost in extras to the New York Yankees. It's the Minnesota Twins are losing to the Philadelphia Phillies, bottom 9. Cleveland's losing to the San Diego Padres. All these teams that are right next to Baltimore, they are losing, while the Orioles entered the weekend facing the team with the best record in baseball, Tampa. They've gone into the Trop. They've won 3 straight games, and on Sunday won 10-2. How has this happened? The answer, this Orioles team was always going to be as good as Gunnar Henderson and Pete Alonso are. Gunnar Henderson's had his worst career season this year. But do you know who was awesome this weekend? Gunnar Henderson. Pete Alonso, Tampa native, awesome, going back to his hometown. As a result, that has counteracted what the Orioles have given away. And that's why the Orioles are in this. And to go a step further, 2 of the Orioles' best hitters this year, Samuel Basallo and Blaze Alexander, they've both been on the shelf, Will, for the last month and change. They're both set to come back in the next couple of weeks. Same for the Orioles closer, Ryan Helsley, who they haven't had for a long time. So even though it's not really an acquisition because the deadline has passed, it's going to feel that way when those players are inserted in the lineup and the Orioles might welcome them back as being in the final wild card spot in the American League. Quite remarkably. And remember how much the storyline, Will, at the deadline and at the All-Star break was how bad the American League is? How often that's been talked about, Will? Don't say that about the American League East. Will Dalton, everybody in the American League East has at least 61 wins.
Yeah.
And 3 teams have 66 or better. If the Orioles get the final wild card spot, the 3 wild card positions will belong to American League East teams, and the Toronto Blue Jays will be 1 game back of that final wild card spot. And, of course, Tampa has the best record in baseball right now. So you could say the American League isn't all that good. Don't say that about the American League East, because even in a year that the American League isn't all that good, air quotes, the American League East still might be the best record in baseball. This segment, don't even know, have we done the Progressive read? I'll just do it again. Love them so much. This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Thank you for attending my Oriole TED Talk. I've been trying to fight the urge to look into the camera and do that for the last couple of hours. I listened to the Pat McAfee album. I did so intently so you don't have to. Believe it or not, the album is fascinating on several different levels, and we'll tell you what levels they are next on the Josh Graham Show.
The Jonas Brothers will be going down under, performing halftime for Rams 49ers in Australia. Will Aaron Donald be on the field, making Kyle Shanahan call SOS?
This is an SOS.
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
It's time to go and seal the show. Trying to be the GOAT. Click, clack, reload. It's time to go and seal the show. Trying to be the GOAT. Click, clack, reload.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Click, clack, reload. It's time to go.
Let's channel our inner Zane Lowe. We're talking about Pat McAfee's new album. This is part of it. The Diary of a Polarizing Figure. This song is titled Click Clack. It is a country, rap, album, 14 tracks on it. Last night, I was up late, listened to it in its entirety, taking notes. So that way you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. Believe it or not, Pat McAfee's new country rap album is fascinating on several different levels. We've never seen a media career like Pat McAfee's. Do you know when Pat McAfee finished his NFL career? It was 2016. That was his last season. So imagine going back in a time machine 10 years ago and explaining to 2016 you that the Colts punter was going to be the face of ESPN, replace Lee Corso on College Game Day, commentate WWE, and now put out a music album. Try explaining that to 2016 you. Think of past faces of that four-letter network. Stephen A. Smith, Tony Kornheiser, and Michael Wilbon. Newspapermen working their way up into television. SVP, Chris Berman, Stuart Scott, Dan Patrick. They all devoted their lives to television careers on their way to ESPN. And then when you talk about the former athletes that are successful, generally they're a quarterback. Generally they played for the Cowboys. Pat McAfee was a punter. And this is where you simply tip your cap, because it's all the result of sheer hustle, and he deserves everything that he's received. Getting to the album, McAfee, it's the latest example of the resurgence we've seen in country music. Genres go through cycles of popularity. For example, about a dozen years ago, country music was in the toilet. They had this country rock phase, and at that time, hip-hop, it was in its golden era. You had Jay-Z and Kanye putting out an album together. You had Drake. You had Kendrick being introduced to the fray. It was in a great, great place. Now, those two genres, it's completely reversed. Ella Langley's breaking records for topping the charts. And she's doing so with country music. And Morgan Wallen is selling out stadiums left and right. Meanwhile, while Ella Langley was at the top of the Billboard charts, there wasn't a hip-hop song in the top 40. There wasn't a rap song in the top 40 of the Billboard charts. Also, you've got Beyonce, you've got Post Malone, you've got Pat McAfee putting out what? Country music. And while there are some songs on this album that are downright laughable, like laughably bad, not trying to be charitable here, but you listen to some of them, you're like, yep, probably not going to listen to that one again. There is one song that I have no problem admitting that I like. It's the last track. It's called Cheers to the South. Here's a little of it.
So cheers to the South, thanks for showing me some love, and cheers to the angels always hovering above, and cheers to the sun, and cheers to the moon. Let's celebrate life while we have the opportunity. So cheers to you.
I think I'm in.
And cheers to me. And cheers to our
That's good.
I don't think that's bad. You can see that already being on College Game Day. Get ready. You're going to get hit over the head with this music, probably on College Game Day. But it does lead to this question. Is Pat McAfee now so polarizing that it doesn't matter how good the music is? Like, let me ask this. If somebody doesn't like Pat McAfee, or even if you're ambivalent to the genre of music you're talking about here. Heck, how about we view it this way? You like country music, but you don't like Pat McAfee. If the music was good, would you like it? Would your opinion of Pat McAfee's show and his takes influence your opinion on the quality of music? This is an interesting spin on separating art and artist. There are some people that still rock Will Dalton, for example, with Michael Jackson 10 toes down, while others don't. I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly. I sang it at karaoke one time, and then the DJ picked up the mic and said, by the way, that person's a terrible person. Got it. But that's still a great song. I used to think that I could not go. I'm sorry, it's a good song. I mean, Kanye, we're dealing with that in real time. That is a thing that happened. 100%. It was after we went to a T-Pain concert. It was great. That's another story. But is Pat McAfee so polarizing that the takes influence your opinion on the music? And when will we see these songs performed? Can he perform them? Because it sounded like there was quite a bit of auto-tune on it. Here's another question. Can Pat McAfee play an instrument? Don't know the answer to that. Just see him in a tank top saying, bro, this guy's a dog. That's our experience with him and watching him punt. Quite a bit of this album is dedicated to talking about his critics, which is why you might imagine the album title is Diary of a Polarizing Person. This might be the most pointed of his lyrics, though. This is from a song that is titled Outlaws.
Bunch of puppies with some pins with on and Muppets as their friends, saying that we ruin sports television again. They get a script and follow it. Want the last 100 years the same as tomorrow. It appears to appear as your peers is a job with no fear that careers being cleared is the pride. Pulling strings on the things, lest the kings run the mob. Institute all the students, then it just becomes a lie. So having your own thoughts somehow became unique. Now authenticity's validity can break the wings.
Yeah. Good job on Will Dalton's part for finding the only portions of this album that do not feature cursing in it. So that's good. Talking about ruining sports television, calling the people criticizing him with the pins puppets. Get it? They're outlaws, Will. That's why the song is titled Outlaws. So is the album great? No. Is it better than what you would expect from Pat McAfee? Yes. That's what we'll take. And there are a few songs that if you turned it on, you might say, is that Jelly Roll or is that Pat McAfee? Don't know the difference. And that's a compliment to Pat McAfee. Like if you saw Jelly Roll out there and he hit a punt and you're like, I don't know if that punt was hit by Jelly Roll or Pat McAfee, you'd say that's a compliment to Jelly Roll.
That's actually a fair assessment, by the way.
Thank you.
I get it.
Thank you. That's what we're trying to do here. Because it seems now, if he can do this, if McAfee can do this and not jump the shark, how can he get even bigger than this? Could he be in movies? Like we were talking about this as the end of Travis Kelce's. Like, all right, Travis Kelce's career ends. What's next? Movies, big dumb action. What if it was starring Pat McAfee? What if Pat McAfee was trying to take the Sylvester Stallone, Arnold 80s route and make some dumb action movies? Politics? He just appeared at an event with the president. Is Pat McAfee going to be the president 20 years from now? I don't know. I saw somebody say, I think it was Chuck Klosterman on Bill Simmons' podcast, that Sophie Cunningham was going to be the vice president 20 years from now. Pat McAfee, Sophie Cunningham ticket? I don't know. 20 years from now?
It'd be polarizing, that's for sure. It'd get the people going.
Just like this album, getting people going. So cheers to the South. Cheers to Pat McAfee. Not to all the songs, but cheers to country music. Happy to see the comeuppance that genre's having. The last thing, you know what country music needs to put a nice little bow on this resurgence that they've had? They need a halftime show. They need the Super Bowl halftime show. Because remember what the story was from February? Well, yeah, you had Bad Bunny, and then there was the alternative halftime show, which featured some country acts. Like, what if the NFL decides to take a hard left turn and say, you know, after the last few years of going in hip-hop and R&B and going into the Latin space, we're going to take a hard left turn. Morgan Wallen's the halftime show. Deal with it.
would be interested to see what the blowback would be. Like Morgan Wallen halftime show. We here for it? I don't know. But that's the thing that, as far as I know, I don't think there has been a country music halftime show at the Super Bowl. So if there was going to be one, who would it be? Would Morgan Wallen get it? I don't think so. Would Luke Combs get it? Don't think so. Post Malone? Would that
That
qualify?
would be my nomination. That would be what I would like to see.
Would that count for country? Don't think Jelly Roll's big enough if Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen aren't. But we're asking, all we're doing is asking questions here. That's what we're trying to do. How about, here's an idea, Pat McAfee. Super Bowl halftime show.
God, people would lose it. I think Post Malone's the answer. Because you get a little bit of everything. You get his hip hop, it would qualify as country. Like he's good enough and deep enough in it.
So that's the question though. Whether or not it qualifies as country. That's what I'm asking here. Football season, it's pretty much here, man. That's the part that's most exciting today. Like, if you want something to encourage you on this Sunday, if you're getting the feeling, man, work is coming tomorrow and getting kind of bummed out by it, be encouraged by this fact. Starting with the weekend we just enjoyed, we're going to have football every weekend between now and February. We've made it. We've made it. The NFL season culminates on Valentine's Day, the day after the Super Bowl. People have lobbied for a long time to have the day after the Super Bowl be a national holiday. Well, guess what? Guess what, friends? This year it actually is. President's Day is the day after the Super Bowl this year. So it is a national holiday. The NFL says you're welcome. Busy. Football all over the place. In North Carolina, high school football kicked off on Friday nights. Got the preseason games. We're less than 2 weeks away from watching Will's North Carolina Tar Heels get their brains beat in by TCU in Ireland. Didn't get to that in Graham's Gambling, but do you want to take a guess what the point spread is for that game, Will?
This is fun. Me trying to guess point spreads. We always like to play this game.
Oh, yeah, you're awful at it. I forgot.
Sometimes I hit, though. I'll say this is a 14.5 point spread. It's probably
like I said, Will Dalton's really bad at it. TCU minus 7.5. TCU minus 7.5 is the spread.
So it's not as bad as I thought.
You got Virginia, NC State the same day. That game was supposed to be in Brazil, but it's now a conference game in Charlottesville to open up on week 0. It's close. It's less than 2 weeks away. Up next, a much better football messenger in the state of Indiana than Pat McAfee, believe it or not. Keep it here on The Josh Graham Show.
There's still 2 QB battles ongoing. In Cleveland, it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. And Atlanta's between Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix Jr. When the starter's named, we'll let you know. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
That's me. It's the Josh Graham Show. We're asking you this question. Curt Cignetti, lovable or obnoxious? Where is he on that spectrum if those are the two extremes? Lovable, obnoxious. 310-840-4910 if you want in on the program talking about the national championship winning Indiana coach. Curt Cignetti, like it or not, has become the face of college football. Quite literally, he's on the cover of the new college football video game. He's being called the next Nick Saban. And he also happens to be the perfect messenger because of his resume and bona fides, what he's done on the field, the perfect messenger for college football, delivering some truth
to some powers at B that don't often hear it communicated the way that Coach Sig is known to say some things. Here's what we mean. The latest target of his pointed rhetoric, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Indiana, which shares a state with Notre Dame, of course, recently canceled a home-and-home with the Irish for 2030 and 2031. That alone made Golden Domer fans upset. And when Coach Sig was asked about that cancellation heading into the weekend, his answer made those fans go from being upset to being irate.
Yeah, I'd like to play Notre Dame. They ought to come to our place twice. We'll go up there once since they're not in a conference. I'd love to play them. Be a great in-state game, you know. I guess there's a backstory to that. I don't quite know what it is. So, you know, it is what it is. And Big Ten schedule's pretty darn tough, too.
2 for 1. Curt Cignetti is talking about Notre Dame football as if it's a group of 6 school. We are based in the state of North Carolina. I've got an App State pullover on right now. This is the type of stuff you'd pull if you're NC State or North Carolina, ACC schools in North Carolina talking to App State. Yeah, we'll play you at your place, but you got to come visit us twice. Nobody talks to Notre Dame that way. Honestly, Curt Cignetti, when he said that about Notre Dame, I had a similar reaction to Catherine Hahn's character in Step Brothers when John C. Reilly punched Adam Scott in the face. Just gonna want to roll Curt Cignetti into a ball. Won't finish that line, though. Family program that we have around here. But we never hear somebody talk about the Irish the way that he did. Instead, the rest of the sport just placates them. Seems to be like bowing at the feet of Notre Dame. Seems that every conference college commissioner has ties to South Bend and the top ADs, you name it. And like a spoiled kid, Notre Dame expects to get special treatment all the time. 2020, all the conferences are only playing conference games. Notre Dame's not in the conference. Well, you're out of luck, right? No. The ACC rescues Notre Dame, giving them a lifeline, letting them be in the conference for 1 year, not strong-arming them and forcing them into the conference at that point when they had leverage. No, they were nice. They were nice when Notre Dame needed help. And then months later, they're going to their media friends telling them that, no, it wasn't the ACC that saved us. It was actually Notre Dame that saved the ACC and in turn saved college football by convincing them to play. Really, Notre Dame? Really? Honestly, they're narcissists if they believe that that's true. And then last year, remember what happened? They get left out of the playoff because they go 10-2. They don't have a conference championship game, and they lost 2 games against the only 2 good teams they played the entire year. Oh, we were robbing. You know what? We're not going to play in a bowl game. We're going to take our ball and go home. Didn't play in a bowl game, Notre Dame. And then got mad at the ACC because the ACC advocated for Miami over Notre Dame. You know, a Miami team that's actually in the conference. Not has this weird relationship where you expect special treatment. This is the truth. And it's what Curt Cignetti, at the heart of what Curt Cignetti said. Indiana is the program that Notre Dame masquerades as. Indiana went 16-0. Indiana beat all the top teams. Notre Dame played 2 good teams. Lost to Texas A&M, lost to Miami. Indiana played in the toughest conference, beat Ohio State in a conference championship game. They beat down Alabama, beat Oregon, beat Miami, who, again, Notre Dame could not beat. Won the national freaking championship. When was the last time Notre Dame won the title? 1988. You tell me how Notre Dame is any different in college football than the Dallas Cowboys are. this conflation with exposure, media coverage, how many fans there are of your team being conflated with being good. Dallas Cowboys haven't won anything since the mid-90s. Notre Dame hasn't won a title since 1988, yet they're talked about like they are, the standard in the country. Really? Nah. You're not even the standard in your state. That's Indiana. That's Curt Cignetti. 2 for 1. Come to our place twice, we'll go to South Bend. Notre Dame wasn't Cignetti's only target this offseason, though. He also went after the entire Southeastern Conference. This was back at Big Ten Media Days when he was asked about the strength of the Big Ten. His answer did not disappoint.
I mean, we don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest. We believe everything's earned, not given. And when we fall short, we say we fell short. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. All right? And that's why we're the best.
That's why we're the best. Once again, while very few are willing to say it out loud, Cignetti's right. The Big Ten's won the last 3 titles. The SEC is whining. They have an existential crisis on their hands. They're in denial. They think because they have more fans that means they're better on the field, which they're not. By the way, it's not even by a close margin. The SEC hasn't come close the last 3 years. They haven't even had a finalist the last 3 seasons. Listen to what we're saying. Is this thing on? Yeah. The Big Ten's won the last 3 national championships. The SEC hasn't even had a team make the championship game the last 3 years. It's not close. And by the way, that run is likely to continue in 2026. Ohio State and Oregon, they're the 2 best teams. And Indiana's going to be somewhere in the top 5. But ultimately, the question is this, and it goes back to what we asked. Lovable or obnoxious? 310-840-4910. What is Curt Cignetti? When's the public going to turn on him? Right now, the quips, they're fun, they're cute. But eventually, with rhetoric like this, the public always turns, especially if you're dominant in your sport. Because it goes from being, all right, you're cute, to being pompous, arrogant. And we don't like that. There's almost this sense that we need to see if last year was a fluke for Indiana. Because we still aren't fully there. They had this dominant season, but it's 1 year. That doesn't outweigh the entire history we've had with that program, largely of them being laughable. So if they're terrific again and he continues to be, shall we say, crotchety, then it starts to get annoying. Then that schedule or lack thereof becomes more of a critique. 310-840-4910 right now. Let's get to the audience. Let's go to Mitch. He's in New Jersey. Mitch, lovable or obnoxious, Curt Cignetti?
Kind of lovable. It's a feel-good story from a small school. They've been good just for 2 years. They're not a powerhouse.
They are not a small school. They have the largest alumni base in the United States of America, Indiana.
No, I meant where he came from.
I got you.
Madison.
I got you.
Yeah, that's
I was
what
about to say. They haven't been the
Wait.
greatest football program, but we're not saying that about Indiana.
Just for 2 years, but USC is going to finish ahead of them. They won't even finish the top 7. He got there thanks to Fernando Mendoza, and hopefully he can do the same for the Raiders.
Well, hold one second. They were top 7 the year before that. Lost 1 game, and they didn't have Fernando Mendoza. What are you talking about?
Well, I forgot. Well, he's a third-string quarterback for I forgot what team. I stand corrected. I apologize. I will never be wrong again.
Mitch.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, thanks, Mitch. I appreciate the call. It's good to hear you. See Lemony Snicket's right in. It's important to remember that this is the guy, Josh Graham, told everyone to take the over on South Carolina's win total this year without even going through their schedule. What? Yeah, we're taking the over on South Carolina. Went through every game of their schedule. And would absolutely take the over. Just because they're the only team in the SEC that does not play the top teams in the conference. Or, pardon, they play the bottom 3 teams in the conference. They play Kentucky. They play Mississippi State. And they play Arkansas. They play the 3 worst teams in the conference. That's the reason why we like South Carolina. And Mike Shula's a bad offensive coordinator. And replaced by Kendall Briles, I think that's an upgrade. They missed Dal Loggins a good deal last year. So, yeah, and they've been Clemson's daddy of late. I really like their schedule. Like, when you look at it, They don't play Texas, who I think's better than Georgia. They do play Georgia. Every SEC team gets either Texas or Georgia. I love their schedule. And I think that the odds are favorable because of the setback of last year, some people getting off the scent. So I don't quite know what you're talking about there, but that's okay. 310-840-4910 if you want in. We got not Graham's Gambling. We already did that. We've got unusual questions a half hour from now where you can call in and let us know. Hey, I've got this thing that's on my mind. It might not even be sports related. I want to ask Josh about it. Let's go to Tommy. He's in Michigan. Tommy, 310-840-4910. Lovable or obnoxious?
Yeah, real quick.
Cignetti?
I love the Big Ten. I think Indiana, unfortunately, they may be like a little one-year flash thing. I think Ohio State is so strong, Oregon, and I hope my beloved Wolverines, I always root for them. Hopefully they'll be there with a new coach and second-year quarterback. He's coming on. So I think the Big Ten is going to keep pushing along, but I think Indiana is going to drop off. It was like, yeah, thank you, but they're not going to keep it up like the Michigans and the Ohio States used to do in the Big Ten. Sorry.
I hope. We'll see. We'll see. The Big Ten is certainly has a logjam at the top. Thanks for the call from Michigan, Tommy. I think Lemony Snicket needs to get out of the chat while he's leaking oil here. South Carolina's lost to Clemson twice in a row. Nope, 2-2 in the last 4. Got to make sure we get the facts right here on the show. And we try to do that from time to time. But, to quote Ron Burgundy in Anchorman once upon a time, maybe you need to sit the next couple plays out. Might do you some good, champ. I forget the full context of that. It's when they're sitting there. And was that when Brick said that he ate a big red candle? Nah, I think that was earlier in the movie when they were like in the meeting introducing Veronica. Got to make sure we have our facts straight on the important matters. The 2 best teams in the National League meeting this weekend. Brewers 2, Dodgers 1, top 7. The Brewers might be taking 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers this weekend. We'll be keeping a close eye on that in the final hour of our show and other live baseball scores we'll be getting to in addition to unusual questions in a bit. But between the Browns QB battle and what some rookies have done, the biggest quarterback storyline this week is kind of being overlooked. So we'll hit on it next on the Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
One more quick Curt Cignetti story before we turn the page back to the NFL here on the Josh Graham Show. Don't know if I've shared this before, but being based in the state of North Carolina, we have all these colleges around us. Have 4 ACC schools, repping Appalachian State today. I went to East Carolina University, a group of 6 school in the conference, or in that state, pardon. And prior to working at Westwood One and being on in 300 markets across the country and in Canada, I hosted the longest running sports talk show in the history of the top 50 market, that is the Piedmont Triad area. Talking about Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point. Was there for 7.5 years. And we were proud of what we did. When we first got started, I remember we had weekly interviews with the App State football coach at the time, who was Scott Satterfield. Later went on to Louisville, and he's now at Cincinnati. And then every other week, my boss at the time, shout out to our friends at WSJS who are listening to that station right now, made me every other week talk to the FCS, which was previously Division I AA, program that was nearby, Elon's coach, every other week. And I thought it was annoying because we had all these great programs around us that were in the top level of college football. You're going to have me spend time every other week interviewing the football coach at Elon University. They don't even play FBS football in Burlington, North Carolina. The coach at the time was some guy named Cignetti. And what's crazy, when I go back to those interactions with Curt, the guy that we hear who's bombastic, who has the quips and the lines, that wasn't the guy I talked to at all. Just, he was so gracious and kind and just trying to represent Elon for the 2 years that he was there. That's what I remember about those biweekly conversations. So we do ask the question before we get to unusual questions where you can ask us whatever in 20 minutes. Curt Cignetti, lovable or obnoxious, 310-840-4910 if you want in. Getting to the NFL. While so much attention has been paid to the Cleveland Browns quarterback competition and what we've seen the last few days, the impressive debuts for rookies Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, the most significant QB news happened in Minnesota this week. It was easily J.J. McCarthy being benched in favor of Kyler Murray. In the wake of that decision, the reaction, the blowback we've seen is just as noteworthy as the decision that Kevin O'Connell made. Because so many are already writing off J.J. as being a bust or just resorting his career to being a career backup. However, we're saying here today that closing the book on McCarthy's career today would be a mistake. He's still only 23 years old. It's weird because of how popular college football is, and thus following recruiting is, knowing who high school prospects are when they're freshmen, sophomores in high school, how these guys are in the consciousness, how long they've been in the consciousness. Like, think of a guy like Arch Manning, for example. How long have we known about Arch Manning? 5 years? Arch Manning was known by all of us by the time he was a sophomore in high school, that this guy might be pretty good. So if he's entering his fourth season at Texas, we go back 4 years ago to his senior year of high school, 3 years before. We've known who Arch Manning is for 6 or 7 years. And he's only 22 years old. So by the time these guys are 15 or 16, if you're a top prospect, people know who you are. You're being discussed. You're under the spotlight. And J.J. McCarthy was one of those. He was a 5-star recruit in the class of 2021. We've known who he's been since he's 15, 16 years old. 23, by the way, that's the same age Sam Darnold was when the Jets punted on him after 3 seasons. A story that the Vikings should know very well, considering what Sam did once he left Minnesota a year ago, winning the Super Bowl with Seattle. 23 is the same age that Bryce Young was when he was benched 2 games into the 2024 season. Everybody wrote Bryce off, kind of like with J.J. McCarthy right now. Oh, he's a bust. But then what happened? Came back in, final 10 games of that year, flashed, looked really good. 2025, he takes the Panthers to their first playoff appearance in 8 years, first division title in a decade. And apparently, he's having the best training camp he's had as a pro this year. J.J. McCarthy's 23. Given his age and where he was picked, a top 10 pick, J.J. McCarthy hasn't been given enough opportunity, or as Pat McAfee would say, opportune, to warrant getting benched. We sincerely feel that way. He was a top 10 pick. He played 10 games in his career. Because remember, he had a season-ending injury before his rookie season. And when he did play, was he irredeemably bad? Was he? No. Remember, the season started on Monday Night Football with J.J. McCarthy rallying the Vikings back from behind to beat the eventual NFC North champion Chicago Bears. 2 touchdown passes and a rushing score. Oh, but Josh, it was bad at the end. Was it? He closed the year by winning his last 4 starts. And over that stretch, he had 7 touchdowns and just 2 turnovers over that span. Again, nobody is pretending that McCarthy is setting the world on fire. But if you loved him enough, Minnesota, to take him number 10 overall, what did he do to deserve having the rug ripped beneath him so soon? Sincerely asking. JJ being benched and instead plugging and playing Kyler Murray is less of an indictment on JJ and more of an indictment of the desperation head coach Kevin O'Connell has right now. It's an indictment on a dysfunctional organization right now. You tell me if it's the sign of a healthy organization that a GM is fired in late January, January 30th, after all the top executive candidates have been hired. You don't hire the replacement until after the draft in May. Kevin O'Connell having a new boss probably adds pressure for this year. And he's thinking he's got to look over his shoulder. Let's play Kyler Murray right now. Oh, he's slightly better right now. And he should be. He's been a quarterback since 2019, and J.J. McCarthy's played in 10 games. Minnesota, you have to remember, is a passionate sports city. Fans are passionate, but they're also tortured. Minneapolis might be sports hell USA. Their stars always leave and experience career highs away from the Twin Cities. Kevin Garnett, we saw this. Kevin Love, Karl Anthony Towns just this summer. Yes, Sam Darnold qualifies as that too. So maybe some of that is why the pressure is, oh man, with Seattle doing what they did, we got to get rid of Adolfo-Mensah, and now the pressure's on Kevin O'Connell. Oh, we need to plug a quarterback in right now. There's desperation. For JJ's sake, none of that's JJ's fault. For JJ's sake, it would be best for Minnesota to move him. Like the team we'll point to is, if there was a deal, Will Dalton, Drew Aller / Will Howard, and let's say a 4th-round draft choice for a top 10 pick from 2 years ago, J.J. McCarthy, who says no?
I think you take it.
Who? Or who's more likely to say no? Nobody? So let's just turn it in. Let's get the trade in there. Boom. You already made up your mind on J.J. McCarthy. How about bringing Aller, who had 2 touchdowns in his preseason opener, or Will Howard, who the Steelers say they like a ton? And then J.J. McCarthy could develop and be the future of the Steelers after, or get his opportunity to be the Steelers quarterback a year from now after Rodgers is done. Because Minnesota, they've made their bed. They need to sleep in it now. They got rid of Sam Darnold, and then this is what happens. They get rid of Sam Darnold, and now they become impatient all of a sudden. Can't be that reactionary in this business. You can't. That just doesn't work. 310-840-4910. We got unusual questions in about 10 minutes here on the Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports. However, and wherever you're listening or watching, greatly appreciate that. The other quarterback, by the way, the segment is sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. The other quarterback we wanted to talk about is Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson is already making a case for being QB2 in LA. And by the way, that's not a small thing. You might think, well, Josh, who cares? It's QB2. You should care about this because the Rams QB2 matters more than any QB2 across the country. The Rams are the biggest preseason favorites in nearly a decade. They're one of the 3 biggest favorites we've seen this century. That means it's kind of important to know who's one snap away from playing the most important position and being given the keys to this Porsche. And Matt Stafford is pushing 40. He's had injuries in the past. That adds emphasis on this position battle as well. Ty Simpson was terrific in his debut against the Chiefs. Clinical game management, mean that in the best kind of way. He took what the defense gave him. He carved up the Chiefs, 21 of 25, 2 touchdown passes, no picks. And this is after Simpson was the story of the NFL draft. The Rams, who have picked one other first-round pick in the last decade, take a quarterback in round 1 when they already have an MVP QB. And it seems there's a lot of heat being directed towards Simpson because of the shock value of that pick. Stetson Bennett, he should be worried about making the team now. You already know that Simpson's going to be on the squad. He's a first-round pick. He's the future of the franchise. But going into the weekend, the consensus opinion was that Stetson would be QB2 and LA would keep 3 quarterbacks. But if Simpson's already better than the soon-to-be 29-year-old Stetson Bennett, then what's the point of keeping Stetson? Especially if you want to keep a roster spot open for the potential return of 99 Aaron Donald. Sean McVay was asked about the QB battle after the Rams' preseason win against the Chiefs, and predictably, he had very little to say.
Obviously, Ty had the majority of the game, got 25 attempts to be able to throw the football. But I thought he did a really good job, overall. And I thought Stetson with what he had. So we're going to continue to evaluate it like anything else. But it was fun to be able to see, live football, see how guys handled it. We haven't played tackle football in a long time. I mean, shoot, I got to get I was a little rusty myself. I went and started to shower before I came in here. Normally I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot I got to do the press conference.
Yeah. Sean McVay. Almost taking the shower before doing the press conference. The LA Rams. Interesting stuff. Ty Simpson, QB2. They have joint practices this week. Looking ahead, and we'll see how that shakes out. A few guys, like the overreaction to the J.J. McCarthy benching is very similar to the overreaction we've seen to Ty Simpson when he was picked in the first round back in April, and that was the story of the NFL draft. Overreaction often is the case. Coming up, it is the highlight of our weekend. We call it Unusual Questions. You, for this segment and this segment only, get to call in and ask us anything. 310-840-4910. We love it. You love it. Call us now. 310-840-4910. Unusual Questions on the way here on The Josh Graham Show.
The first weekend of the preseason games is in the books, and we're that much closer to the regular season. The Seahawks-Patriots Wednesday night opener is less than a month away.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited!
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
It's the highlight of our week. Call us now, 310-840-4910 on the Josh Graham Show. Unusual questions. Let's get to it.
Last week, guys, everybody made it out that I got mad at Josh and I left the press conference. That's not right. I thought it was an unusual question, and it's okay.
Thanks, Roy Williams. 310-840-4910. Call us, ask us anything. It's the one segment a week where you can ask us whatever. Let's go to Jim. He's in Seattle. Jim, what's your unusual question?
Yeah, what is your biggest grocery store pet peeves? Example, somebody having 30 items in a 10 items or less express line.
Ooh, that's a great one. That's a great question. Obviously, we don't like the person who's in the express line because that's outwardly breaking the rules. But if we're going to assume that people are following the rules, there are still things that could be pet peeves. Personally, for me, it's the person who doesn't know how to work their credit card or doesn't know how to use the coupon or whatever. I have little patience in the checkout line for somebody not knowing how to tap the screen or insert their card or whatever. That is mine. Jim, appreciate the call. Thanks for that fantastic start to unusual questions. Will Dalton, do you have anything to add?
I just hate it when people move slow, and just have no sense of urgency. I was actually just at the grocery store today. Now, I didn't experience this today, But every once in a while, it's like you'll be waiting in the self-checkout line, and it's just like people have no, like, there's clearly people waiting here, and they just have no sense of urgency. It's almost like they're moving backwards. They're going so slow. It's astonishing sometimes. And it makes me want to go twice as fast when I finally get up there. It's like, I'll show you.
I asked my unusual question earlier when I was looking ahead to this Netflix documentary series. I don't even know if it's a series. It might just be just the doc itself, called The Death of a Pastor's Wife. I was asking if anybody knew somebody involved in one of these true crime shows, or maybe even knew a criminal, because the story there is pastor's wife dies suspiciously in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and people think that the pastor might have been involved in it. And I told the story how the day I got engaged to my wife, I was at that church listening to that preacher pastoring, giving a sermon, preaching, and then on another occasion, I met the wife who's now deceased and the pastor, and they handed the table Jell-O shots. That's a thing that actually happened in real life. So it had me thinking about that. Can't wait to watch the series. 310-840-4910. That was my unusual question. Let's see what Burt in Baltimore has for us. Burt, what do you have? You're on Unusual Questions here on the Josh Graham Show.
All right, with respect to the big three sports, and I'd kindly request a response from both of you gentlemen. With respect to the big three sports, if you could be either a player, a coach, a general manager, or an owner of a championship-winning team, so football, baseball, or basketball, which would you rather be and why?
Do you get the talents that come along with those players?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Burt. So, Will, I'm between two things. Obviously, I'd love to have the talents of Victor Wembanyama, just to do all the things that Victor can do. But then there are some discomforts that come along with being that height. I think that would be the answer we all go to, so we could then just go to a gym and dunk all day. But I'm going to reverse it and say actually the best places to be is to be Steve Ballmer. Like to own a team, or, I'll be David Rubenstein. But the problem if I pick David Rubenstein is that he's so old, like he's in his mid-70s. You kind of you get his money, but you also take his form as well in the way that Burt is describing. So I'm trying to think, who's the youngest owner in sports? That's who I want to be, because I don't really have to do anything and I'm just filthy rich. And I get to watch all the games.
That's a good answer. I think I'd want the talents of Steph Curry. I think that's what I'd want to do, because it's just, I feel like dunking and LeBron, like players like that
Steph
might be
can
the popular. Dunk? No. I'm talking about. I feel like a lot of people would answer like LeBron or Kobe, and they would want that high-flying ability.
You like to show up at a gym and do what Steph does in pregame warm-ups. Just start hoisting and people looking at you like it's like Mike.
Yeah, because it's he's so slick with it, and it's just I don't know. I think it's so cool. I'd want to do that.
Holy cow. The Athletics just hit a 2-run homer. They're up 4-2 on the Rangers. If this holds up, the Orioles will be in the final wild card spot by themselves. Holy cow. Let's go to Jeff, who's in Wisconsin. Jeff, what do you have?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I got a question. Would you bring back, Chris, if you could go back in the day, professional bowling, bring back Nelson Burton Jr. and Chris Schenkel live on ABC, Sunday afternoon, live professional bowling. It was
This is our competition.
It was almost must-watch TV. Would you bring that back?
It's a great question, and by a great question,
Because I know you're probably too young, but they still have bowling on.
Hold 1 second. I know what you're talking about. No. I know the appeal. but I would still answer the question no. Thanks for the call, Jeff.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you. But I will cap this by saying, who do you think you are? I am! That's what I got to say. Little Dog has the right answer here. I think Tom Dundon's who I'd like to be as the owner because he owns one of my favorite teams. He's a younger guy, Carolina Hurricanes owner, and now he owns the Portland Trail Blazers as well. Even though he's a bit under fire right now, I'd like to be that guy, have my entire family's name on the Stanley Cup. Emily is in San Diego. Emily, what is your unusual question?
Well, my unusual question is going to be for both of you, and hopefully you'll have answers to them. If not, if you have to think about it, then if you just will think about it and then tell me later. If now someone just won the $800 million lottery. Okay, back east. I'm in San Diego. So back east. And my question to you guys is, if you had the opportunity to have been the winner, would you change your life or would you go on living the way you are?
Oh, Emily. Appreciate the call. It's an easy answer. I would definitely change my lifestyle and behavior. Are you kidding? I would never eat at a fast food restaurant probably ever again. I'd eat the healthiest food possible, and I don't know. Would I live in a bigger house? Probably. I don't, yes, I would change my lifestyle. I don't know what the argument is otherwise. I mean, what are you going to do with that money? You're going to die and then you're going to give it to someone else and the government's going to get half of that anyway. Yeah. I would live a little bit differently, probably. Even though, I mean, that's about the salary I get paid here at Westwood One Sports. So I don't know how much different it would be, honestly. 800 mil is what she said, I think, a year. Might have to do a little bit of movement on that. Will Dalton, what's your unusual question? It is the Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports, 310-840-4910. What's your unusual question?
So earlier this week, I saw something on social media that got me going. So somebody put out that, like, the Burger King fries, like that style of fry was the worst type of fries, like the really crispy ones. And I took great offense to this because I think those fries are some of the best fries. Like, they're up there just because I like them crispy like that. And so it got me thinking, that's certainly not the worst type of fry. But what is? What do you think the worst type of fry is? Say, for me, I think it's steak fries. Oh,
Sweet potato
brother.
fries.
I love sweet potato fries.
I'm out. No, Mondo is naughty. He knows I'm 100% right.
Mondo,
fries,
come on.
It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to do an alcohol-less beer as being great? No. Fries are supposed to be unhealthy. They're supposed to be like actual potatoes. Sweet potatoes can kick rocks. Oh, we need to put cinnamon on it to be good. Stop. Where are you at, Mondo?
No, I'm sorry. I love sweet potato fries. I hate steak fries.
Oh!
It's like, just give me a
fries.
big potato.
See, Linnell's probably going to want to fight you in the street because he made me upset this morning talking about steak fries being his favorite type of fries that he got.
Oh, they stink.
I think he said he was at Red Robin, and then he said that Chick-fil-A is the most overrated, overpriced fast food joint there is. Linnell, I mean, talking about the Lord's chicken on a Sunday is bold. Sunday morning, incredible
Watch
work
out,
on his
everybody.
part.
Everybody stay safe.
I was with a bunch of kindergartners, like babysitting during a church service this morning, driving home listening to that, and I don't know, man. Nearly brought Satan out of me. Nearly called him and just wanted to yell at Linnell. What are we doing? Anyway, 310-840-4910 if you want in. The worst type of fry, I just answered it. You probably don't like the answer. Let's go to Mario, who's in Miami. Mario, what's your unusual question? We lost Mario. Let's go to Ed. He's in Cleveland. Ed, what's your unusual question?
Hey, what's up, guys? Okay, who's hotter, Elvira or Morticia?
Elvira or Morticia? Will Dalton, do you know who Elvira or Letitia is?
Nope.
Morticia, not Letitia.
Well, Letitia.
I don't know any of these
She's
people.
fine too. I don't know who either of these people are either. Who are these people?
Morticia Gomez from the Addams Family. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Oh, got it. I'll say it's a tie. What's your answer?
You know what? I'm going to go with Morticia because she doesn't have to show skin. That's what excites you.
Yeah, that's pretty well put. Thank you. Thank you for the call. I'm looking at the pictures now. Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think Morticia's the answer. There goes Ed in Cleveland. Thank you for having me
Kind of like
investigate
Elvira.
that.
I kind of like Elvira.
Of course you do. Sweet potato. Brian writes in, Patrick Mahomes is the youngest sports team owner in history as part owner of the Kansas City Royals, so I'd be Patrick Mahomes. You know, it's not a bad answer to the question, honestly. Not a bad answer. I thought it's a nice change of pace question on your part, Will. Usually you are right on the nose and your questions suck. But this week, not so much. Like, I thought you were going to ask me what the best type of fry was, and I'm ready to jump in there talking about the Chick-fil-A waffle fry, or to talk about McDonald's golden fries, or to talk about the Bojangles seasoned fries being in North Carolina. Was ready to jump in and have that be my take. By the way, all food that I would not be eating if I won that $800 million lottery that Emily was asking about. But you kind of threw a curveball on me. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, see? I'll throw a little change up in there from time to time. I'll do it.
And that has been unusual questions for this week. I will answer this question that Lil Dog writes in the chat on the way out, though. Better first date, Costco or Sam's Club?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, this is somebody who's known us for a while. Shout out to Lil Dog, because there's some backstory here. Mondo, are you familiar with Costco? Are you a Costco man at all?
Yes, I am a gold member.
You're a card-carrying Costco member.
Yeah,
I'm
where's
glad.
my executive.
Will Dalton and I, look at that executive card. It's beautiful. Me and Will have been working together for 4+ years.
Yeah.
A long time.
About 4.5.
Maybe a week or two into Will and I working together, Mondo. He being a single person, at this point, I'm about to get married. I'm like a couple months away from getting married. Will says, you know what I'll do? I'll go on a Costco date, because we had interns on the show that we were working on at that point that said, hey, you know what's a really good first date? Costco. And we had multiple interns say that. And we said, you know what? I think there's a good idea there. And this turned out to be a debate and a topic on the show that we were doing. And Will committed to doing that. Hey, I'm going to go on a first date to Costco. And then it became a running bit, Mondo, where Will would not do it. He'd be on all the apps with his Patrick Swayze Roadhouse type hair, swiping right, all the things. But he would never, for the show, he would never commit to the bit of actually going. So we would literally talk about this for years and years and years, and he would never do it. Why? Why would you not go to Costco and do the thing, even just for the show?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of decided that I don't think it's the best first date option. I don't think that's it.
Mondo, are you on my side of the fence here, thinking
I don't think that's
Costco
impressive.
is a perfect first date option? I think it is.
You know, I never thought about that.
Amazing first
but
date.
you're making a great point. It's an awesome first. They have like lounge areas. They got free samples. You can walk around.
There's so much
check
to
out the
look at,
TVs,
and then
try out
if you
some
want to go
clothes.
hit, if you want to go hit the food stand, get whatever you want, honey. Go to town. Whatever you want. You want 2 hot dogs? I got you. $1.50 a piece. It's there. You want a slice of pizza? You want the chicken bake? I mean, it's an amazing first date because you're just trying to get to know each other. You're trying to make sure you didn't get catfished if you're meeting off the internet. Like that's the purpose of the first date. And honestly, I don't understand what the argument against is, other than you're scared of commitment. Because I've made the joke many times
I'm not
that
scared
Will
of
Dalton
commitment.
is going to do this and he's going to meet his wife. Because the reality is, if she judges you so much to think this isn't a great date, which, by the way, it's off the wall and women love off the wall, then that's not the person you want to be marrying anyway. That's not the person you want to be with anyway. Win-win. You save time.
You can
Honestly,
also
would you not?
you
The
can talk
person
about,
you
like,
want to
the
be
tips
with
and
is
stuff.
not the person. Yes, what do you got, Mondo?
You can talk about the tips and like all the secret codes and like the secret sales that they have. It's like if it's 98 cents, it means something different. There's a lot of interesting stuff about Costco.
You should know,
Costco-
Mondo. You should know. I just got a text from Mike Wickett, and he wants in on this conversation. So
Is Wicket there? Because I was about to promote. I was about to promote Wicket's show. Like he's going to be all over Candace Parker's Hall of Fame speech from last night, talking about switching teams. He's going to be all over that in just the next half hour or so. Hey, Wicket, I was just about to promote your show.
Thank you. With the terrible lead-in I got yesterday, you owe me. But
this is
what
a great lead-in
woman
right now, though.
did you convince to marry you, considering that your ideal first date is a wholesale grocery store?
Thank you, Wicket.
What in the hell?
I didn't.
What?
I didn't say
You want
ideal.
2 chicken bakes, baby? I got you. What are we doing here?
Thank you,
I
Wicket.
didn't
you get
say ideal. I said, in response to the interns who said it was a good idea, that, if I were single, I would try it.
And I
That
love,
doesn't
by the
sound
way,
bad.
you're so worried about getting catfished that Costco is how you make sure you don't get catfished?
Hey, and by the way, are you married, Wicket? Are you
Yes.
a married man?
9 years, married to my wife. We have 3
Okay.
kids.
About a year ago, we do a monthly date night, me and my wife.
Okay.
She says to me, we're going to do a date night this month, but
Your
I want it to be
fiance, by the way,
$20.
fiance. You're not married yet.
No,
you still
no.
got time.
I am married. What are you talking about?
okay.
I've been married for 4 years.
I thought you said you're
This
getting
is
married in a
before.
month. My bad. I must have missed that.
No. It was right before when me and Will first started to get to know each other.
Got it.
This
got
is 4 years ago that this bit's been going on for a while now, and this kind commenter brought it back up. But what I'm saying is, a year ago, me and my wife were married, and she says, hey, we can do our date night. Can we keep the budget under $20? I said, all right, I got it figured out. So I take my wife, we do the Costco date. We go to Costco. It's like on a Friday. They got the samples out, and I told her there's one rule. The one rule is this. We're not buying anything practical. We're not going to buy the things that we need for our home or anything like that. No. And we just walked around, and there were a lot of fun things that otherwise we wouldn't notice when we're grocery shopping. And we went to the food stand. We got some things that normally we wouldn't try if we're just like grabbing something on the go. Let me just get a hot dog. And then we had some money left over. We went across the street to the Barnes & Noble. She got a book. It was a home run date.
Listen.
Home run date.
I realize that I live in Iowa, and it's kind of a boring state to live in. I understand that.
thought it was heaven.
There's not a lot going on here in Iowa. But your idea of a fun night out with your wife is Costco and then Barnes & Noble?
It's great. We had a great time. It was excellent. And
You
by
don't
the
have
way,
any. You don't have any kids, do you, Josh? Josh, you don't have any kids yet, do you?
I have a 2-year-old.
Okay, so but
Or
4
close
years
to being
ago
a
you
2-year-old.
didn't. That's my point. 4 years ago, before you had children, you don't use your off time when you have kids to go to a place that you shop for the stuff for the kids. Like now, you wouldn't do that now, would you?
I go to Costco every week, my man. I
Yeah, but
bring
not
a pack
with
of
the
bags.
wife for a
I bring-
hot date.
What? Well, she said that month less than $20, so we were just being a little bit flexible. By the way, did you think about going to that Iowa game? Did you think about going to the Field of Dreams game this past week?
I have lived in Iowa for 3 Field of Dreams games and have not made it to Dyersville yet. Again, I've got 3 kids. It's a couple hours east of me. I can't get away from it, but I think I probably should at some point. I mean, I live in the damn state, so.
Carl Ravitch is on board with our Bull Durham game idea for 2028, celebrating the 40-year anniversary of Bull Durham. playing a game in Durham, North Carolina. The AAA affiliate to the Tampa Bay Rays is the Durham Bulls. Have Tampa involved in the game, have them wear Bulls uniforms, the whole deal, get Costner there. Are you on board with this campaign that I'm leading?
If it happens, I will join you in Dyersville at the Field of Dreams.
No, this would be in Durham.
No, we're going to play it in Durham.
Oh, what are we playing in Durham for? Who cares about Durham, Dyersville,
So yeah,
bro?
come on out to Durham.
Game. We're
Come
talking about
see
the
me.
Bull Durham game. That's what we're talking about. The Bull Durham.
So we're turning our back on Field of Dreams, and now we're going to Bull Durham.
Bull Durham's
and then in
a
a
better
couple
movie.
of years, we'll play in Cleveland, where the Indians/Guardians play. We'll do the Major League game. We'll get Charlie Sheen there and Wesley Snipes. Is this the new thing now?
In addition to talking about Candace Parker switching teams, what else do you got on the Mike Wickett show?
We'll set up a Carolina Panthers preview. So get excited for a talk of a team that went 8-9 last year but won their division.
And
Yeah.
while we're teasing
Get
things,
ready.
Will Dalton, make sure to catch the Mike Wickett program that begins in the next 20 minutes. What do we have in Put It to Bed, Will?
The worst possible place to take a nap.
Costco.
That's right.
The Jonas Brothers will be going down under, performing halftime for Rams 49ers in Australia. Will Aaron Donald be on the field, making Kyle Shanahan call SOS? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Mike Wickett, he takes over in the next 10 minutes. Appreciate Mondo and Will Dalton's contributions to the show. Are you doing the thing where you're working 3 shows again, Will Dalton, today? Did I just hear that right from Wickett?
Yeah. I'll be with Wickett and then Johnny Ballgame and the nightcap.
You're going to be on for 11 hours today?
Yeah.
Insanity.
Certainly.
Just very strange behavior on your
Hanging
part.
with my
Okay.
people.
Yes, you are. Make sure you catch Will Dalton for the next, how many more hours would this be?
8? 8
yeah,
hours?
8.
Yeah.
Will Dalton's going to be here for the next 8 hours. You enjoy that. Let's
I
close
will.
out today's program by putting it to bed.
So this guy got arrested because he was found asleep. Now, it's not illegal to take naps. I think it's just a matter of where you decide to take said nap. So, this guy was found asleep aboard a JetBlue airliner. And the trick here is, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, this plane landed and everybody got off and he's asleep. No, this plane wasn't even, had not taken off or anything. It was grounded for maintenance. So this guy somehow snuck into the airfield and he wandered into a plane that was just idle and he took a nap while the plane was getting maintenance. Yeah. And then he got arrested for it. And he finished his nap in the clink.
Are you a good napper? Do you nap often?
I wouldn't say often, but like when I'm really tired, like when I've done an 11-hour shift, and the next day I might be a little tired still, yeah, I'll take a 20 to 30 minute power nap and I feel great. But I don't do it often though. It's nice when I can do it.
I'm a big napper. I love to nap. You, though, strike me as somebody that would not be able to nap in funny places. Like, you need to be in a bed or on the couch with covers or whatever, because you know there are people that can just like sleep anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not that guy. I mean, like in a car, yeah. But like a random place. I mean, I guess if push came to shove and I was that tired, maybe. But I'd like to be in a bed, or at minimum on a couch. You know, I like to be tucked in. It's the way I like it.
One more check-in on the Major League Baseball scoreboard. Will Dalton The Athletics have beaten the Texas Rangers 5-2. That means 2 weeks removed from trading Adley Rutschman, the Baltimore Orioles are in sole possession of the American League's final wild card spot with a 61-63 record.
Unbelievable. This team has had you down bad a lot this year, and here they are. Here they are.
If the season ended today, through 124 games, the Baltimore Orioles would be in the postseason. I can't feel my face right now. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Brewers have taken a blowtorch to the LA Dodgers. 3 out of 4 in the series, Milwaukee 6, LA 1. By the way, the Orioles played a team that entered the weekend with the best record in baseball and on a 9-game winning streak, the Rays, went into their house and won the last 3, including today, 10-2. Like, baseball, to anybody that suggests baseball's broken or baseball isn't great, no, baseball's not the problem, you're the problem. Baseball rocks. And the fact that the Brewers are taking it to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have looked awful since trading Tarek Skubal, and Tarek Skubal, by the way, was on the mound today, should tell you all you need to know. It's just an amazing game. Amazing that we're at this point with the Orioles in the playoffs with the final wild card spot if the season ended today. It's just outstanding. Love that. Man, honestly, don't know what else to add. It has me, there are a few things that have me speechless, not knowing what else to say other than wow. Like that kid with the Cardinals yesterday, his first 3 major league at-bats hitting home runs, including the first major league pitch he saw. But the Orioles today being in the final wild card spot in the American League, it's just, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
Yeah.
Mike Wickett's on the way. This has been the Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.